1-star reviews.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Gotta go slow? Add your 1-star review in the comments.
Sadly just 1 star. I liked the movie. Unfortunately Sonic did the Fortnite dance which ruined the movie for me.
Total crap, even kids didn't like it. I have no idea what is happening. Movies are getting worse and worse. I've watched it and I wish I haven't. One thing is for sure. There's going to be a second part of it. Not going to see me in the theaters for it. That's for sure. It seems to me that most of these good reviews, rates are fake. I mean, I certainly hope they are. Otherwise, Planet is going nuts. Skip it. Spend some time walking instead.
1 star for 130 hours for ADs. Creators of this movie have no conscience. Movie is packed with advertisements from start to finish. I watch movies to get away from ads and not to watch more of them.
Waste of time. It was a boring movie. Plus, hated the Sonic's voice, it was so disturbing.
Didn't even finish it. This looks like it only took a week to make. I was a huge Sonic fan. Growing up on Sega games. It was one of its best games. The movie though, just terrible. I thought maybe the kids would enjoy it but they didn't either. No doubt this will be a cash cow title for them for Abbott now, but I struggle to think of a more forgettable movie.
It sucks. An ordinary movie that features USA government elements and jokes about it. And of course, a bit baseball and some special effects. A little bit Jim Carrey and some cool Sonic. How creative. Isn't it got old already?
Don't waste your money. This was one of the worst movies I have ever seen. Jim Carrey acts the same way in every movie and this one was no exception. James Marsden really scraped the bottom of the barrel with this one.
If you've ever seen Hop, you've seen Sonic. Mumbling soundtrack aside, this movie really tried hard, but ultimately failed. Sonic was less interesting than I expected him to be and found myself often daydreaming through his predictable dialogue. I was then hopeful for a resurgence of the Og Jim Carrey. But he failed to show up. More so just dim shades of his former glory. I then looked to James Marsden, the king of talking to animated animals that aren't really there, and felt he nailed his typical empty role. Fully believing in himself all the way. By halfway through, I was hoping the movie would actually speed up and finish. Not the review you were hoping for.
Promote deadly games. Sonic was zipped in the bag. And was screaming, "I can't breath." Creator thought it's funny. But it is actually deadly games. Some people and kids died from being zipped in the bag case. I also don't like diversity and restaurant advertisement in this movie. I would not recommend it.
I hate kiddie movies. I only watched it BCUZ of Jim Carrey, but he couldn't save this trash. I wish after all this time he didn't have to pick such a garbage film. Whoever the voice of Sonic was, he was most annoying and didn't say anything funny or entertaining and pretty much completely ticked me off while watching it. Sonic wants to leave Earth to go to some mushroom land but loses his rings. I wish I could have left Earth while watching it.
Awful. I bet they created the fake hype with the bad CGI.
More like Trash Panda, the movie. Terrible film. Waste of my money. I ended up walking out as well. First time I've done that. The film heavily relies on stories and references from other films all of the time. The acting was terrible and not believable. The characters were overused and cliché. I respect the VFX department for changing Sonic's look to be a little more normal and realistic looking. But even then the CGI wasn't that good. This isn't worth your money or your time. Don't watch it unless drunk AHAH.
Ghastly and horrid. Wow. My roommate dragged me to go see Sonic tonight at 10. Judging from the near-empty theaters, it looks like people are being smart and avoiding this train wreck of a family flick. Jim Carrey needs to retire and resort to back to his anti-Trump. He tries so hard but fails on every level. Sorry Jim. You've lost your magic touch a long time ago. He was cringe-inducing and embarrassing to watch. Marsden is seriously typecast in these bland thankless roles. He needs a new agent. The movie is nowhere as bad as Cats, however it is bland. Boring and dull like Cats. This is made for TV Netflix flavor of the week fodder, and anyone that forks over hard-earned cash will be fooling themselves that this movie is entertaining. Avoid like the plague.
What? This film could be fun if a certain Jim Carrey wasn't in it. He just needs to throw in the towel. He is just a mess in this film.
Sonic flossed. My brother saw it and he said Sonic flossed multiple times for like 6 seconds. Gave it a 1 star just cause of that.
It was terrible. No plot, and character redesign was a planned money grab to save it from flopping. I love Sonic and this movie has nothing to do with Sonic. 0 tenths.
Okay. As someone who played this on the Sega Master System for years, my problem is Dr. Robotnik. In the game he was a fat guy who made machines to try and duff Sonic, a skinny drive. Doesn't feel right. Jim Carrey in this is just annoying.
No one asked for this movie. Utterly underwhelming and boring movie with predictable story, and for the entirety of it you feel like you're waiting for it to develop into something interesting or show you some excitement, but all it does is move meaningless and underwhelming scenes one after another that by the end credits you feel like meh.
Terrible. Terrible movie. Really, I didn't love it. It's so bad. Jokes are bad. Actors are bad except Jim Carrey. Scenario is bad. And Azerbaijanistan? Really? You think is that joke?
Par for the Sonic course, a major disappointment. Incredibly generic. Boring and poorly written. A huge waste of Sonic. Completely unfaithful to all established lore. It seems the writers did no more than a few minutes of research before hastily writing this disappointment to appease as wide of an audience as possible. The only redeeming part is the intro. Before Sonic leaves his universe. Which they did for no reason other than to make it appealing to boring people who can't watch a movie unless it's relatable to their boring lives. The video game movie curse is real.
Without the spirit of the games. Sonic the Hedgehog from Genesis Chapter 1 and 2 defines my childhood. I love the soundtrack till these days. The movie lacks the spirit of the game. Sonic's design is great, but the story is thin. I feel the producers never played the Genesis game. I think a game-based movie should be heavily based on the game's story and soundtrack.
Design was not the problem. They fixed the Sonic character design. Too bad the real problem was the script. The inciting incident has absolutely zero meaning. The conflict makes no sense. The B-plot is asinine. And the only good character in the whole movie is relegated to roughly a half hour of screen time. If you have kids, they'll be entertained. Otherwise, save yourself the pain.
Failing to deliver. I enjoyed the video game. The cartoons were good too. From what I can remember. However, this attempt at bringing Sonic to the big screen has failed. Very well. The backstory was short and left you wondering. The relationship between characters was rushed and felt lacking. It was as if the scripts were written by a 12-year-old. Jim Carrey was great and is probably the only reason this movie has held together. I've heard it said it has done better than Detective Pikachu. But I fail to see how that is possible. Sonic does not deliver any of the mystery, excitement, nor emotional draw that Detective Pikachu had. Wait for this to come out to your favorite streaming site. Then watch it from a friend's account. Do not waste any money on this movie if you can help it.
Could it be worse? First, it can't be more horrible. Second, Jim Carrey is only good for a Dumb and Dumber kind of movie. Maybe if they were made back in 80s. You just wasted money.
Awful storyline, wasted opportunity. I have it a 2 for the animation of Sonic. The storyline is just about a police officer moving to San Francisco. Children will love it to keep them quiet. It literally never needed to be made, and end credits were cute. TBH, if you look at what the writer wrote previously, you would have guessed it would be terrible. Please don't make another. Thumbs down. If you're expecting this movie to live up to your childhood Sega experience, do not watch it. It felt like I was watching a made-for-TV movie.
Sonic the Turkey. Unless you are a retro gamer or under 10. Don't bother. I would rather watch my grandson play on his console for an hour and a half. High on CGI action but zero story. Even Jim Carrey can't rescue it.
Not a film for adults. Saw this movie because I grew up with Sonic. Boring disappointment of a movie that takes no risks and is suitable only for children 9 and under.
Brew. After an admittedly solid opening act, Sonic's first big screen outing quickly descends into one of the most rushed, lazy, confused messes of a film I've ever had the displeasure of watching. The characters suck. The visuals blow. The action is just copied and pasted from better speedster movies. Everything good in this film is just borrows from different movies. Jim Carrey is just doing Ace Ventura. The action is just Days of Future Past. And the plot is E.T., Bumblebee, The Iron Giant, etc., with all of the egregious product placement. The movie it reminded me the most of was Mac and Me. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Mac and Me, it's a shameless RT ripoff that was almost entirely paid for. But I came out of that film more fulfilled than when I came out of Sonic. Please, do yourself a favor and stay away from this abomination.